Welcome to West Virginia Beer Roads, a podcast all about beer from a West Virginia perspective. I'm Aaron McCoy, here with my podcast partner, Charles Bachway.
Well, today, West Virginia Beer Roads continues its focus on sort of the Morgantown region, north central West Virginia. And one of the really best spots up there, and certainly the top breweries in that region, out of Rivesville, West Virginia, called Story Brewing Company. And we're happy to have today with us Aaron Rote, co-founder, co-owner of Short Story Brewing. Aaron, welcome to West Virginia Beer Roads.
Very nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
And of course, I'm here with my co-host, Aaron McCoy.
Hello, hello. Thanks, Aaron, for joining us today. I want to start right out regarding your brewery business. How about giving me a snapshot, describe yourself in a couple of sentences as far as where you guys stand?
Well, these days, it's a different times for sure. And, times like this make you rethink your business a little bit and
Sure.
you try to restructure and, pivot to suit the law changes and, your ability to sell beer in your tap room or at other places. So we feel pretty good right now overall. So right now we're just, we're feeling good about the business we're seeing weekly at our tap room because we're kind of outside of city limits and we have a nice big outdoor area. We can kind of safely bring people here and make sure that we're like following all the guidelines, and that's helped us to some extent. And also with our new canning line, we're able to, have packaged beer that lasts a little longer that we can sell in our taproom location, and that's an incentive for people to come here and experience the place maybe for the first time, or for people to come in from further away, and especially if maybe they're from a location where things are really shut down, and it's a chance to maybe kind of get out and see things a little bit.
Well, okay. Talk to me a little bit about your target market, your demographic area. Who are you wanting to sort of attract to get to your brewery and to buy beer from you, or come into the tap room, or sit outside on your deck area?
Our target market is really pretty wide. Anybody who is interested in craft beer. Locally, we're so close to West Virginia University, so you do see sometimes on the weekends we have a younger demographic here.
Right.
But throughout the week, we see people of all ages. There are an older set who like to come here because they do feel safe to be here and they can have dinner and kind of be by themselves while also, trying the new beers.
Right.
So we don't think too much about our demographic. It's we feel like the market's there, that craft beer, it extends all demographics as long as you can legally drink alcohol. So,
right.
Well, since you guys have a nice West Virginia brewery license, you got to have some equipment up there, and I want to make sure I'm up to date on the size of your brew house and how much fermentation space and other equipment. The key things that you're currently using.
So right now, let me think on that a second. We have 3 10-barrel fermenters, a 20-barrel fermenter, 10-barrel lagering tank, and a couple other smaller tanks. So I think our capacity is around 50 or 60 barrels of beer. We're pretty much running at full capacity. Mike, our brewer, could not work harder. He's out. There's just no more hours in the day. We'd have to clone him or do something like that to get any more.
So where does that put you with an annual production volume, roughly, round figures?
I don't even know what our annual production volume is. All I know is we make as much beer as possible and it all gets sold. So
it's well, go ahead.
And just like, we've only really been open 3 years, and this year's been so wacky. It's just, these numbers would be an anomaly.
Yeah, that's true too. I guess, yeah. Just thinking though, based on full production, what the capacity was at your place. But let's move over to the canning side. That's something that's a newer thing for you guys. And talk to me about what you're doing with your canning operation.
So right now we've had the canning line and since June, And typically our goal is to can once a week, and to do a beer release at our locations every Thursday. So Thursdays are typically our slowest day here. So the incentive to bring people in and to get people kind of excited on a weekly schedule is, offer them something new in cans every week. And it's worked for the most part. Some weeks, Thursdays are crazy, and some weeks they're a little, do not see as many people through here, but it has had that effect of people who start to, expect to see those new releases every week. And they start to call you on it if maybe you miss a week or something. You have to, the power goes out and you can't can on that Thursday. So you got to wait till Friday or Monday. So, but I think it's good both ways. It keeps us honest. We know we have to be on that schedule and, kind of keep the promise we're trying to make. So we've loved it so far. It's a whole new thing. It's like, it's fun to get more people who work in the brewery as like our bartenders, our kitchen staff, like they come and help us can. It's been fun to like work personally for me to come up with some of the ideas for the can art, or to find really good people whose art I already liked and get them to design a can. So it's fun. It brings more things together, and
Sure.
We've enjoyed it.
Talk to me about your tap room and restaurant size and space, like indoor, outside capacity. Some percentages, would be great as far as the type of seating that you can accommodate. And I know you've recently built out, so elaborate on that, please.
Sure. So I think our capacity indoors is around 50 or 60 people. We have like a downstairs area that has like the bar and a few seats, and then an upstairs area where we can seat additional crowd. And now outside, we used to really have no real outdoor seating. It was just a big green yard. And if it was raining and wet and muddy, you couldn't go out there. And now I think our outdoor space is about the same as our indoor space. It's like a 3-level deck. We're slowly covering it.
Okay.
So it's covered, and, hopefully, I think people have really, I think they like to sit outside more than, and it's around the brewery. It's really pretty. So we're just kind of like leveraging our space better, I think.
You have additional space that if you wanted to add to that outdoor seating, you'd have the ability to do that?
Oh yeah. We joke all the time that eventually, like, it's not going to be a deck. It's going to be like a boardwalk that like goes all the way to Morgantown.
Yeah, I enjoyed that outdoor space, your outdoor area, because it had a lot of different feels to different sections. So little seating areas were one was different from the next. It was nice.
I'm sorry I missed you this weekend, but I think you picked a pretty good day to be here. It seemed like the weather was okay.
Yeah, gorgeous day.
Yeah, it was beautiful. We done with that side?
We are done with that topic.
All right.
It's
well,
on to you.
Aaron, I'm curious about current business trends. I mean, this has been a tough year for a lot of on-premise businesses, certainly breweries and bars and restaurants. How's it stacking up for you guys this year versus last year?
You know what? It hasn't, like I said, it's kind of changed our perspective a little bit, but honestly, business hasn't been, I mean, obviously you can't have people sitting at your bar and there's no 2 or 3 people deep at the bar anymore. And it's hard to tell if that'll ever come back. But I think by sort of changing the space a little bit to let people kind of breathe and be a little bit separate while still sort of being together, people still feel comfortable. I don't think our business has really dropped off all that much, except for during that period when we just couldn't have anybody here. We basically became a growler to go business, and our kitchen side really saved us then, because we were able to, people who were even local who may never drink a craft beer were coming in and like getting a cheesesteak because we were the local place that had food. So it's kind of changed the business a little bit, but I don't think, I'm not saying it's like for the worst. I think it's just different.
So I'm sure the canning sales every week now has had a very positive impact on revenue, because that's been a hot product for most breweries. How has it been for you?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I think it's just nice to have that visual of a can with art on it. I think it really just kind of sells itself a little more. There's a funny thing. There's still people who really like to fill growlers. Like people will come in with their growler and like they're just dead set on filling it. Like I'll be like, well, that beer is in cans right there, and it's going to last a lot longer. And they're like, no, I want to fill my growler. There's just some. So I think there's some people who are still getting used to that a little bit.
Makes sense. Can you tell me what brands and styles are selling the most for Short Story Brewing?
IPAs always sell really well here. We always have a pretty good variety. Right now we have a lot of IPAs on, but they're all selling pretty evenly. Anytime we have our lagers on, those go quick. I think the quickest can release sellouts were our Argonaut, that's our Hellas lager, and Two for the Show. The first batch of it sold pretty quick as well. So,
are you seeing the same type of sales as far as your best sellers in your cans as well as your tap room, or does it vary?
I think it seems to go hand in hand. If anytime there's a new beer on that's brand new, those are always the best seller for that week.
Right.
Some of the classics.
Okay, then talk about the styles or brands that are slower, that just aren't moving as fast in the tap room and or can sales.
Like we have a bourbon barrel aged stout on right now. Fell asleep like this, and those beers always just move a little slower.
Right.
We also, since we have a limited amount, we don't fill growlers of it. So those kind of stay on longer, but we almost kind of want them to, because those are intense beers to make. So if you can kind of have them longer, and it kind of helps. Yeah, I would say anytime you have something that's a little higher ABV, those are always going to move a little slower. You have people who are like, love those beers a lot, but not everybody wants that 9%.
I guess one of the things that I'd be curious about, Aaron, too, is like the momentum of some of the different styles. Like I know you've started doing a lot more of fruited sours occasionally, at least. And like you said, maybe certain ones of the hazies, IPAs, whether it be the doubles or the triples, I don't know which ones might sell quicker, but are there certain ones that seem to have more momentum when you do put them out, that they sell through quicker? I know you said the Argonaut does, or at least the lagers sometimes do, but how about within some of the other ones? Are there things you've noticed from a year ago that's at all shifted in popularity?
I think sours definitely are still really popular, especially like a low ABV kind of
Session
good sour. Session sour is always going to sell well. It's something you can sell to the non-craft beer drinker, which always helps. So there's definitely, that trend is definitely there, and there's a lot of good breweries in the state right now making really good sours. I mean, Morgantown Brewing has that awesome series of sours that I love, and so I think the trend is still there for the sours. It's definitely, I think a year ago, people maybe thought that was a little bit more of like a fluke, or it was something that wasn't going to last, but
a fad sort of.
I think they're definitely here to stay. We're getting ready to release some milk stouts. And it's hard to tell, like that'll be a first for us. So we're kind of intrigued to see how those do.
Yeah, I will be too. And because we also have holiday season come up, are you planning a few special beers for the holiday season?
So we're definitely going to do our Dunkel Captain I. We kind of consider that one of our holiday beers, just because it's like a dark, easy drinking beer. Nothing that's like super tied to the holidays. Just really a lot of darker beers. So we'll have that. Yeah. We'll have our Hunt and Peck Brown Ale coming back. We'll have those two milk stouts. We're doing a raspberry one and a Mexican hot chocolate one. So those will, I think those will keep people happy, at least into the week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. What is the Short Stories outlook as far as winter and, surviving winter? How are you going to try to attract and retain business?
That's a good question. Heat lamps on our deck.
I expect that.
Sort of just making it so just try to extend the season as long as possible. But we do know, at least we know that if things were to get, if the rules or the laws were to kind of change back and tighten up a little bit, we do feel like we have to put that system in place where if we have to go back to doing growlers and cans and take out food, we've already built an online store to do that stuff. So,
Right.
you know, winters are always slower here.
Sure.
So you're always kind of planning on it in terms of how you're staffing and your brewing schedule. But this year's definitely going to be, you know, just a wait and see week to week, you know.
So as far as survival, you're just trying to just roll with the punches and keep it going.
We definitely don't, I guess we're blessed in that we're not thinking like survival necessarily.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
How good can it be, or can we just make sure that we can keep our full staff on? You know, if it gets so bad where we're thinking survival, I think we'll have bigger things to worry about.
So overall, though, from your Rivesville location, you guys have been pretty happy with your customers' response during this pandemic?
Oh, absolutely. Without them, we wouldn't have, I guess, to talk survival. I mean, those first couple months when we went from being fully operational to basically just sitting here trying to figure out what to do, because no one was buying beer in kegs, so that distribution dropped off. You weren't sure if you could bring people in, or there at the beginning, you know, things were just so in question. But our customers stepped up. They kept coming in. They kept, you know, buying beer. So thanks to them.
How big a role is distribution playing for you today, you know, getting beer out to other accounts?
Our distribution these days is very tight. Because we're canning and trying to sell more beer here, we're being a little bit more precious with the beer we have in kegs. We try to just do right by the accounts that have been with us since the beginning. And if there's some extra beer left over, you know, we'll get it in the hands of whoever is asking for it. But
Okay.
our footprint in terms of distribution is much smaller currently.
Well, you also have your outlet in Maryland, Deep Creek Lake, Maryland. And we're thinking of wintertime. I mean, that's certainly one that would probably tend to pick up a little in winter, at least business-wise, could pick up because of the ski area. Is that what you're looking forward to that? I mean, is that likely?
Yeah. I mean, if the mountain, we want worse weather up there, honestly. Like when I drive there to bartend, I want there to be snow on the roads, because I know that there'll be people on the mountain. So hopefully, everything I've heard is that Wisp is going to open in some capacity, and hopefully the weather helps them. You know, that's a big part of that area, and we're kind of just, you know, how well they do is how well we'll do, honestly.
Well, enough just talking about these wonderful short story beers. Yeah, we're thirsty. So, Aaron, what do we have over there?
Let's see.
We're going to pull out. I'm drinking the 2 for the show, Double IPA.
Well, since you're already opening, we'll do the 2 for the show as well.
We will, and here is the can for our
2
viewers.
For the show.
Which is very cool.
Like a double IPA, hazy.
Hazy New England style. It's got a nice body to it.
I love the label.
Yeah, you can go ahead and talk about it as we're pouring here. We want to keep it going.
So this is Columbus, Citra, and Amarillo hops. So sort of more of the classic hops. A lot of our newer IPAs, we're just constantly experimenting with, you know, whatever we can get our hands on, some from anywhere, buying hops in very small amounts with hopes that we can one day make a beer with them. But this is just a good classic New England style, IPA. I think if you go on Untapped, I think it's our best rated beer.
Yes, we kind of checked that out. It definitely has a great rating. It's 4.04 is an average, but that's out of 900 and some people that have actually posted about it.
Yeah,
so that's excellent.
Anytime beers get over 4, that means it's a very, very excellent rating. That's good. I mean, that's good to see. And this, oh boy, this
delicious.
Very juicy, I'd call
Yeah,
it.
definitely very juicy.
Juicy and
Smooth.
smooth. So smooth. How do you get it so smooth? What does Mike do? And you might want to give a little introduction to your brewer, Mike, while we're drinking the beer he makes here.
So Mike's my brother-in-law for one thing. He's our head brewer. He's been brewing for 10 to 12 years. His big thing is really just consistency and precision. I would say when he brews, he wants to know if he makes a beer one time that he can make it over and over again, and that it always tastes exactly the same. So with a beer like this, that's just really important.
Sure.
Hazy is people who tend to like these beers, they tend to want to try as many of them as they can from everywhere, from Vermont, from the Northeast. So you have like a high bar for a beer like this, and you want to sort of make sure that you can hit it every time.
Yeah, and like as you said, customers trying it from different areas. Of course, they're going to compare what you're producing to what they've had in other areas, and this is definitely right there. It's great beer.
Yeah, I found your bartender, or your lead bartender. I think Avery, is that her?
Oh, Avery, yeah.
Avery, her name. Yeah, she was very high on this beer too, and we talked about it for a while. I don't mean she was high, literally. She was positive.
Well, I guess I'll have to talk to her about that. I don't know.
Yeah, she was working. She was very sober, so yeah. She was talking highly about this beer and about her appreciation for it. And I said, I've had it before. I need to reacquaint myself, because this one's been one that you've made for a while, or that Mike's made off and on through the years, right?
Yeah. We pretty much, if we pretty much brew it probably at least once a month, or at this point.
Yeah, and it does what. I'm sure it's one that people like in cans as well. That's what we did.
Oh yeah, it moves quick. And I think it was probably the third or fourth beer we released in cans, and that was the one where at 4:00, like there were a lot of people in the parking lot, which was awesome to see. It's kind of something we always wanted to see if we could pull it off. Can we get some people to show up? And that was a fun day.
So do you find, though, that the double IPAs are equal to, as far as popularity, people as widely drink them as they do the single standard IPA strengths?
I think that's interesting. Sometimes someone will come in and they're not super acquainted with IPAs or pale ales, and we'll let them try a couple of them, and you always start with like the lowest ABV one, or the most one that you think is the most accessible. But for some reason, I don't know what it is, but double IPAs, maybe because they're a little bit sweeter, and there's a little more body to the beer, there's something about it that I think attracts people more than a regular IPA. I guess it's like there's not quite that amount of bitterness in the beer, which I think turns some people off. So
I think so too.
Maybe the doubles are just kind of in that sweet spot where they're a little more balanced.
This too for the show seems like it definitely has a nice malt backbone, and gives it just a touch of sweetness to it. Although I wouldn't call it a sweet beer, but it's not dried out like some IPAs are, and this one is. It's got a lot of that nice creamy mouthfeel.
It does.
It's very easy. I could see why it would be easy to drink, even though it's a bigger, more hop forward beer.
Yeah.
And for an 8% beer, you don't taste that.
Mm-mm.
It's not boozy. It's blended really well.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those beers where like you can very easily overdo something or underdo it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can find one that's like right,
So while we're tasting this double IPA, too, for the show, maybe you could just name a couple more that you've had out in the last year, or that you're likely to bring back that are ones you're very high on.
In terms of double IPAs, or just?
Let's stick with the double, because we're going to drink a regular or single IPA here in a minute.
Oh man, I'm on the spot. I'm trying to think. I love Your Best Option from Chestnut.
Oh, you're talking about other people's. I'm sorry, I was asking for yours. But
I'm talking about mine.
Yeah, that's good.
Sorry. I was just
You
going to
can
start
throw
throwing
in.
my friends' beers.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't make that clear.
Or Haggard than Haggard. I'm just going to start throwing beers.
Now you're naming some good ones.
Yeah. Our other double IPA that we still have it on tap, but we don't have it in cans is Echo, Echo, Echo. So that's a newer one. And I'd say the big difference there is, we're using some hops that are maybe a little newer, a little more experimental. Don't ask me to name them right off the top of my head because the names of hops these days are ridiculous. I can't keep track of
Yeah,
them
they
all.
are.
We've heard that
But
recently.
it's definitely like trying to make a double IPA that uses a couple more, I don't want to say interesting, but just weirder, newer hops, where you're going to get maybe some more like candy notes or something a little more tropical or passion fruity. So that's kind of fun. Like, once you have a good double IPA recipe dialed in, you can start to play around with it a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I kind of guessed from trying a lot of your beers through the last couple of years. That Mike gets on a pattern. He gets happy with a recipe, and he really likes. He masters it, and then he might hop it different or make little tweaks to it to come up with a little different twist and a different brand. But yet they're in the same wheelhouse generally. They're not going to depart radically from what he made last week or month, typically anyway, from what I see.
Yeah, I think his sort of thinking, and I can't speak for him 100%, is it's always fun when Mike decides to make something new because the first time he does it, it's going to be awesome out of the gate. He's figured it out in his head, and he's ready to make it. And then he can offer variations on that theme for a little while. And I like that to some extent because I think there's another model where, you just sort of like start making like the craziest beers in the world. You just start throwing stuff in and that works. That definitely works for some people and some amazing beers come out of that process. But the amount of the amount of money that goes into making a batch of beer,
ingredients,
if you don't know kind of going in, this is going to be somewhat successful. There's a lot of risk involved there. And I think Mike's always, he knows that if something comes out of his brain and he decides to brew it, it's going to be good. And that's for someone who has to sell the beer, that's awesome.
Sure.
Because I never have to worry about,
wasting
quality.
resources. Yeah.
I hear you.
That's great.
All right, let's open another one.
Let's see. We have the Infinity +1.
Infinity +1.
Another very cool.
That reminds me of the Incredibles or something here.
I like that. Very nice.
The can was supposed to look like an old math textbook.
Yeah.
It
does.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Like a textbook from like the 70s or something.
Yeah, it says practical mathematics for impractical beers, right?
Many book references at Short Story Brewing Company.
Yeah, which is great. I like that personally.
And when I was there the other day, I had my flight in a card catalog tray, whatever you call it, sleeve, drawer. I love that. And you've done that since the beginning. You're still doing it. It's cool. That is neat.
Yeah, it is cool.
I do love it. So this one is, this is a really nice lineup of hops. You got your Galaxy, you got your Mosaic, Simcoe, and your Hallertauer Blanc. So you got some classic hops kind of mixed in there with some
tropical,
trendier hops, like a Galaxy with something like Hallertauer Blanc, which is a little more of a
winey almost.
Winey experimental hop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I get a little bit of that white wine note to it.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, there's a Mosaic comes out, I think, a lot.
Yeah, it has like the Mosaic backbone, but
definitely. No, but it's
go ahead.
No, well, there's just more going on though. You can tell there's a blend of hops in there.
I'm not sure why that hop was called Hallertauer Blanc, but I think it was just a name someone made up to make it sound like champagne, like that was just a joke.
No,
it sounds like the name of the champagne. Yeah.
I think maybe that it had a Hallertauer parent the
Oh, okay.
traditional one, and it was a hybrid with another something else. I'm not sure what, but yeah.
Oh, that is
But it was
easy to
developed
drink.
in Germany, over in Bavaria. I know that.
That is very, very easy to drink. It's very smooth.
Yeah. When I picked this one to taste today, I said, this is a very
Easy drinker.
accessible beer. I mean, now you were talking about one that you start people out and you take them and try, okay, sample this one first. And boy, if they sampled this beer, a lot of people are going to just say, I could stop right here and I could enjoy this. I mean, I'm a seasoned beer drinker. I can enjoy this. This is a well-made beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of hops in here, but
Mm,
it is not bitter. It's blended well. It's got great flavor. It smells very citrusy to me.
yes, definitely. Yeah. Wow. Anyway, Infinity plus one. I like that. And I like that idea that it's a math textbook. I mean, that's cool.
And it's
Not that I ever wanted to take another math course, but
Yeah, me either. I wouldn't know the first thing.
yeah, you were an English major, weren't you?
Absolutely.
on the can. It's a first edition, so this is the first edition of. Well, I mean, how about
This is actually the second edition of this. I just didn't change
Ah.
the
No, you didn't change the label.
marketing.
Well, Mr. Marketer, since you were in charge of that department for your brewery, who do you use to design your labels?
I have designed a good few of them. One of my little quarantine projects was I downloaded Adobe Illustrator and tried to teach myself a few things. But I like when we're able to kind of, I have my cousin Gina, she is a graphic designer. So she's kind of tutored me a little bit and she helps me finalize things. So that's nice to have someone who can, that you can trade beer for like, art lessons. Basically.
Yeah.
But we've also, I like that we've able, and I hope we're able to do it more. And I think a lot of the breweries in Morgantown are doing a really good job of this. Is there's a really great art scene here, and everyone's kind of pulling from this kind of small group of really good artists. And we're happy that we have Max Pro doing some of our can work. He did our sideways glance cans, and I think they look awesome.
That was, say his name again, Max
Perot, Perrott.
Okay, and he did the sideways glance can. We'll make sure we put a picture of that up here on the screen on the video.
So it's been fun to get to work with guys like Max, and hopefully, I hope we can use him more. He does a great job. His sister Bren is also an artist. She designs cans for
Jackie O's. Yeah, we've talked about her a little bit on our one of our podcasts because
right on.
Yeah, amazing. She's an amazing artist and making money designing for Jackie O's. Jackie O's a big brewery.
Well, she has actual art hanging in their brewery. Right?
Yeah, her art sells in their brewery too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was on our label.
Yeah.
Session
We always work with Kinship Goods, who's down your way. So Stay Cozy.
Okay.
Stay Cozy is a beer that we kind of inspired by their brand. We just love them. I love their shirts. I'm wearing one of their shirts right now. I'm usually wearing
Hey, all right. Kinship.
So they I'm hoping we got to kind of work together on our Stay Cozy cans. We're hoping to get to work with them some more. And
that's great.
You got any ideas and thoughts on directions that you want to do, projects you guys want to do? I mean, I know we have to think past COVID and all, but
sure.
But I mean, what are you looking at? Anything new, different for you guys?
I mean, right now we're a little bit thinking about how we might expand our capacity, given our current space where it's just very tight here. There's not a lot more room, so we'll have to make some decisions related to that at some point.
Yeah, because you're a actual brew house space. It's full of tanks. I mean, there's nothing left you could put in there probably.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a submarine in there at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's just you're on top of each other when you're trying to work.
Yeah. So if you want to grow into even larger canning equipment or anything like that, you're going to have to get some bigger space to put some tanks.
Sure. And that I think that would be here if we do it, but So that's something we have to think about. I think one thing we really have learned, and maybe it's because like we've all been kind of like hunkered down in this space for the last like 8 months, is that we really do like selling beer in our own locations. We like to be like on the front line of selling our own beer.
Sure.
We like that model. We like that we can train our bartenders to like know about our product, and that they're like our direct ambassadors. And a lot of really good breweries sort of have that model, you know, where maybe you can't get their beer everywhere. Maybe you can't get it anywhere, but you know where they're at, and if you want it, go to them.
Sure.
And
Certainly
not to
get
say
your
that that's
control.
going to 100% ever be our model, but we like that idea. So we always think about more tap rooms maybe, or just anything we can do to get closer to people who want our beer, but also be that person who's selling them the beer, you know?
Yeah, you guys make sure that people know that are listening here that if you want a can of Short Story beer right now, at least, you have to go to the brewery to buy those cans. Yeah. And that's not that unusual nationally.
Sure.
There are a lot of breweries that make you come to get the cans. They don't distribute cans other places because it makes sense. I mean, they're trying to make a living here. They're trying to eke out in a tough environment, in a tough economy, trying to make a living. And it's, you need to maximize your profits and by selling the beer yourself. That's the way you do it. We need to support our breweries. We need to support Short Story and all of our small breweries, especially those that invest in canning equipment and put those nice cans of beer out for us. Because, man, we like taking those home.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's also just like we don't have enough beer in cans to provide it to, we'd have to be really picky choosy about who we gave our beer to. And that's, I don't like to have to do that, to tell someone yes and someone no.
Right.
And give a whole bunch of people one 4-pack of beer to sell. Because we just don't have that much beer in cans right now, so.
Yeah, so I'm talking to your bartenders the other day, and they're saying, yeah, most of our customers we know. I mean, that's such a nice thing to see that, yeah, we get tourists, people like me walking in, but awful lot of our business, there are people that are coming back and back and back again and again.
Which is great for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's kind of why you do it. It's great to see. We like to see, if every week we see 10 familiar faces and 10 new faces, like that's all you can hope for, really.
Right.
Well, Aaron, I always wondered, when you put your brewery out on the edge of Rivesville, and Rivesville itself is a little teeny town, and you're on the edge of Rivesville, you're kind of out, a little bit rural.
Oh, I can tell. The first time you came here, I could tell you were suspicious.
I thought, are these guys really going to put a brewery out here? How come they didn't put it in Fairmont or in Morgantown? But when I tasted your beer, then I thought, well, they got a shot. These guys make good beer. So, I mean, that's the first thing you have to look at. I mean, do they make good beer? And Short Story, you guys have proven that. But anyway, I just remembered that thinking, and it's good to see though that, it's really developed a following locally in the region that people continue to drive over. And it's, it's a short drive, sure, from Morgantown and Fairmont, certainly very close to Fairmont. And that's the best beer market in West Virginia, really, dollar for dollar. Fairmont, Morgantown, that market is incredible.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's I think there's room up here for more. I hope every once in a while I hear a rumor about a new brewery coming, and I'm like, bring it on. I mean, I think we can support a couple more.
Sure. Oh,
down in Charleston, I don't know what's going on there. You guys need some breweries down there.
We do. We really do.
We have
try to promote that, and we do.
We have a shield up. No breweries are allowed in Charleston.
I don't know what it is.
It's crazy. We really, we suffer from that. And you guys up in the Fairmont, Morgantown area, I mean, you've got Rambling Root. You've got 2 other breweries in Morgantown, basically. You've got things going on. And then a couple over in Preston County that are really fun and good and distributing and making cans and bad.
That's settled, right? I mean, you guys should expand to Charleston.
Go
ahead.
Who knows?
Open up a tap room, please. We would welcome that. That would be wonderful.
Man, I love Charleston. I think it's always surprised me that there's not something going on, especially in like, is it the east? Is it where Kinship is? Like, is that the east end or the west end? I forget. I get them backward.
They call that Elk City.
Yeah.
Elk City.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's a west side, but it's called Elk City. Elk
Right.
City area. Yeah.
Cool. I mean, yeah, that just seems like it's asking for a couple breweries.
Well,
It is. It
Yeah.
is, and we need something over there
yeah,
desperately.
we would welcome them very much so.
But anyway, forget the future, the long-term future. We got to deal with getting through this winter and getting it over COVID, and let's all support our local breweries, get out here and take the time to go to the brewery, buy the beer there, and
Enjoy it
help
while
these
it's out
guys
there.
make a living and keep making really good beer for those of us who like different and variety beers. Yeah.
And you guys.
Well, I think it wraps it up, Aaron.
I think so.
Aaron, thank you. Aaron Rote, Short Story Brewing, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about the wonderful things that are going on at your place.
Anytime, guys. Thank you guys for being such good stewards of the beer culture around here.
Hey, we're trying it. Thank you
That's
for your
awesome.
time.
All right,
Hey,
thanks.
good one.
We appreciate
See
you.
ya.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right.
This brings us to the close of another podcast. Remember, you can subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast host. Thank you for listening to West Virginia Beer Roads.
West Virginia Beer Roads is a production of BrilliantStream.com.